So I'm now in my finished bathroom. This project has taken over a year. It's been a slow job, but as you all know, DIY projects can get like that. And so in this video I'm just going to go over the various mistakes I made along the way, things I do differently, and things that I'm glad that I did do in the way that I chose to do them. Now, one of the first choices we made was these Kit Kat tiles. These tiles are porcelain, and we've got them all the way around most of the room. So they're all behind the bath, the sink, toilet, and this radiator here. The only place we've got something different is the shower. And although we like the way these look, they're an enormous pain to cut because they're very hard, and in places where we needed a smaller slither like this, they're very difficult to cut. You couldn't just score and snap. It had to be run through a wet tile cutter to do all of these. Then also laying these, although they came on big sheets, it's very difficult to get them all straight, and you end up having to put a spacer between practically every joint. So it was very time consuming to get these up, and then also pushing them into the wall with a grout float, trying to get it all flat. Just made for a very time consuming job with those tiles. Now grouting them as well is a bit of a nightmare where there's so many gaps because the tiles are so small. We just end up using so much grout, it just took so long. And in the process of cleaning all that grout off and scrubbing up the tiles, just took a really long time. So although I'm pleased with how the tiles look, I probably wouldn't bother using these ones again. I would probably use a larger format tile. Siliconing up to these Kit Kat tiles as well was an absolute nightmare because where you've got these ridges, you can't just use a normal silicone tool because you drag it along and it just gets in all the dips, so you end up with quite uneven silicone. Now to get around this, I found this silicone block, and I think it's 8mm on one side and 10 or 12 on the other side. And it only gives you the option of doing the diagonal or completely flat, but it's what we've got. And so this way, you take the block and run it along, and where the block is wider than the gaps in these tiles, it bridges it a lot better. It just enables you to go across. Now, I don't know how easy you can see this on the camera, but some of this is a bit messy. Behind the tap here, it was quite difficult, so I think I'm actually going to redo this, take the taps off, whereas here, in the middle of the taps, actually, it's pretty tidy, where I had plenty of room to get this in, but then again, behind this tap, also a bit messy. So I think I have to take these taps out, which is fairly easy to do, and then redo the silicone using this block. The other place I ended up using this silicone block was up against the floor for the same reason, so I could have a nice silicone joint joining the floor to these Kit Kat tiles and to cover up the cut ends. And so, same thing, just went across here. And it made for a really nice tidy joint all the way around. So this I'm pleased with and well worth buying, but I probably wouldn't use these tiles again. This was just a necessity. What I am pleased with though is this stainless steel strip that went on the top. I think it's actually aluminium that's just coated, but gives a really nice clean finish and makes it look quite professional, so I'm pleased with that all the way around. Now this sink unit is actually from IKEA, and I think it looks pretty nice, pretty pleased with it. However, there are just a couple of things that I did note with it. The quality isn't quite as good as you would get from somewhere else, and I think that's just the fact that it's IKEA, so I'm not sure how easily you can see it on the camera, but these don't perfectly align with the taps. They're a few millimeters out of center with the taps on both of these. It must be the way the mold is. I don't think the average person would ever notice, but I when you've got quite a lot of attention to detail, you do tend to notice these things. And then some of these edges as well, where I've stuck white silicone in here to close the gap, but it's not a perfect fit. So this isn't perfectly straight. However, as I said though, it was cheap and we do think it looks good. I think these are just very fine attention to detail points that most people won't realistically notice. Didn't use IKEA taps though. These are cross-water taps. Very sturdy, really pleased with these. I think they come out quite nicely. Just what we want. Then the toilet, we went for Duravit. And it's a soft close, fairly basic choice. This system surprisingly didn't have any fixings to fix the back, it only had fixings into the toilet itself. So we just ended up sticking a couple of blobs of BT1 just at the top on the back, and that meant that it just held to the wall nicely. And if we ever do want to get it off, you can just stick a knife down there and just cut them, but it will just hold it in place nicely. Then the drain down here, I need to build a bit of boxing in to cover this up, but this was a bit of a nightmare, so we ended up having to use this flexi, where this was a fixed pipe already going out, and this back of a toilet system, this comes quite far back compared to average toilets that usually stop a bit further forward. So we end up having to have this flexi and a pan connection extender back there to get this in. Now this flooring is something that we are really pleased with. So this, it looks and it feels like wood or lacquered wood. This is actually vinyl on top of a composite board. And it's entirely waterproof, no expansion, really easy to fit. The whole room, it only took about 2.5 hours to get this flooring down. It's got an underlay on the back of it already. At the edge here you can just see, so you've got this little bit of underlay on the bottom, and then you've got composite board and the vinyl on the top. You can see this is just this click-clock style here. Gives you a really nice firm bit of flooring. The reason this looks like it runs out is actually because the original floor ran out, so we had to stick down a self-leveling screed to level this off. But this will just get lost in the carpet on the stairs here, so it won't really notice. Great thing about that flooring as well is it's really warm to the touch. It's not like tiles where you actually feel cold walking around on it, or wood where you've got the risk of expansion and getting wet, which wood you just don't want to be using in a bathroom. So this stuff is perfect for us, and it's not slippery, but it's lovely and warm to walk on in winter as well. Now this radiator is a piece we're really pleased with. So this came off Facebook Marketplace, a heritage radiator. I think they're about £800 or so new, and picked this up for, I think it was £150 on Facebook Marketplace. Lovely, lovely radiator. Included nice valves as well. The only thing I will say was this was a nightmare to fit. It's extremely heavy, and getting these valves, getting the pipes lined up coming out of the wall was a real problem. I think it would have been a lot easier had I had the pipes come out of the floor straight up into it, rather than trying to work out where they will go in the wall. And where the plaster is slightly thicker on this side, you see a few less copper here than you do on this side. I don't think the average person would notice, but it does irritate me a little bit sometimes. These Talon pipe covers are great, so I'd highly recommend getting a set of these if you've got any dodgy pipe ends coming out of a wall like this. And if anyone's interested, this skirting, this is just from MDF Skirting World. Big fan of this, we've got this all through the house. And I've just done this vertical finish piece here just to butt up to the edge of the tiles on the shower tray there. Getting these tails coming out the wall in the right place was a nightmare. These ones ended up too long, and the radiator over there ended up being too short. So I actually had to extend these, and I've just put these Talon pipe covers on the top to just cover up, but you've actually got a, you can see there, had to put a straight copper coupler to make this long enough, but these pipe covers cover it up, so you never know. But again, if I'd have had this come out of the floor, it would have been a lot easier than having it come out of the wall. I think it does look nice coming out of the wall, but it created a lot of work. Bathroom plant, a minor one, but we like it. Not to everyone's taste, but I think it finished off the bathroom nicely. Then onto the shower. So we went for hand scrower. A little bit grubby that's being used. Should have cleaned it before this video. But hand screw eye box there, I've got a video on fitting this. Then we've done a handheld shower here. Not sure I'd bother with this again, we don't really use it and it was a bit of a pain to get the fittings in and obviously we had to pay for it as well. But this hand scourer, rain dance shower head, this is lovely. Really soaks you, really nice shower head. Really pleased with that choice. These tiles, this is a travertine tile, and whilst I think it looks lovely, it was a lot of effort to put in. The tiles aren't all uniform, so some of them are slightly thicker than others, some of them are slightly bigger. It was a bit of a pain trying to find ones that all matched up nicely on the sizing, but the beauty of them is really in the look of it. Having tiles where no single tile is the same, they've got all this variety in the tiles, is really nice, and I do enjoy just looking at them. So you get some lovely marbling, and then you've got other types of tiles. Really nice, really pleased with it, but it is natural stone, so it did have to be well sealed. And then you've got waterproof backerboard on here as well. They are soft though, so you do have to be really careful with them, and you can't be using any harsh chemicals on them, so we just squeegee it off every use. Now, one of the problems with these natural stone tiles is you can't score and snap them like you can with porcelain. This again needed a wet tile cutter, and it was quite a lot of effort cutting all these tiles down to size. And where they're natural stone as well, some of them have cracks in already and you cut them and they break, so there's a fair bit of wastage with these, and they were quite expensive. So although they look nice, there is a real trade-off with using them, so I probably would have tried to find something better in porcelain. Now when I did do these, I used a level master system, so you get them all flat with the wedges, and that I think worked really well. I'd highly recommend doing that. I think you've just got to be careful to not scratch the surface of the tiles when you're doing it. Silicone, I was trying to find a colour match with the grout. Cement grey, it's about as close as I got. Fairly happy with that. I think it matches in quite nicely down at the bottom as well. Now the perk using grey silicone as well is, if it goes a little bit mouldy, a bit dark, you're not going to see it quite as easily as you would with white. The shower we went for just has this flapper panel here, so just stops the water splashing out, and then you can just push it back. This was a nice choice, I was pleased with this, and then you've got these arms which create nice sturdy hold so it's not going anywhere. Extractor fan, decided to put here right up over the shower, so all your steam goes straight up through that, which was a nice choice. I'm pleased that I did that rather than having it on the other side of the room. It really does clear the room out much more easily, and that just goes out through a roof tile. Where the floor wasn't level though, getting this low profile shower tray in was a bit of a nightmare, where it's not thick at all and the floor wasn't perfectly level. That was a nightmare. We ended up using a lot of CT1 and some glazing packers to get this down nicely. Although pleased with it in the end. The shower waste, I didn't use the included one. This is a McAlpine one that I got from Screwfix. I'd rather use a branded one where I'm never going to be able to get this back up, and it had to go in when the shower tray got stuck down. I'd much rather have that peace of mind that it's not going to have a problem because I've used a branded one rather than some cheap piece of crap that's just been shown in the box. Now the seals, all on the outside, as I believe you're meant to do, so you've got clear beaded silicone all down there, and then all up the side here as well. Did have a leak, but it was down here in this corner, and it was where I hadn't sealed between the tiles and the shower tray before installing this screen. That was quite a big mistake, so I ended up having to take out all this silicone and shove it back in really well behind this, so getting it right behind this this channel, and then going back with the grey on top. So now I'm pleased that I've got a decent seal, but absolutely do this silicone between the tiles and the tray before you stick your screens in. Then just beaded silicone as well between the flooring and the tray, just means you've got a nice seal. Done the same on skirting there too, that's just MDF skirting, but just stops, if you get water going up against it, stops it creeping behind. I'm really pleased with the downlights I chose, so these are JCC FireGuard downlights. and it weren't particularly expensive, but really easy to fit, and the design is such that once the can is in the ceiling, you just have a little top bit that you pop off, and you can access the bulb. And then if you're decorating, you don't have to pull the can out of the ceiling, you can just paint up to it, and then you stick your cover back on. So it's similar to like a socket and back box. You just take the socket cover off when you're decorating and then stick it back on, rather than having to take the entire unit out, as you do with some of the older downlight styles. Next bit is the bath. So I'm really pleased with this bath. So this is a freestanding acrylic bath. So it's not the heaviest thing in the world, but it's glued down to keep it in place. So it's a freestanding bath, and it is a very big bath. You can get 2 people in here pretty comfortably. And then we've got this cross-water freestanding tap. Now, one of the mistakes I made was this tap slightly too close to the wall. So on the cold side, you can't fully open it. You only get a relatively small flow because it hits the wall. But on the hot side and in the middle, you can have it full. So it's fine, because realistically, you're not putting it on entirely cold very often, if ever. So I wasn't too bothered about trying to move this tap and get it in the right place. But I'm pleased with the tap, does look nice. Just freestanding, so I put some reinforcing under the floor there, so I've got some really big screws through the base of this to hold it in place. Even with that, you still do get a little bit of wobble to it. Not a lot, but there's a little bit of wobble. Also, haven't painted the door frame yet. That is the last job to do, and then we're going to do a new door as well. But I just haven't got around to painting that door frame. And then silicone in the bath, so we've got the clear bead of silicone all around the edge where the bath meets the floor, and that just sticks the bath down nicely, stops it moving. However, the problem is where the bath is up against the wall here, getting the silicone down the back is very difficult. So I've only actually got it siliconed for about 2/3 of the way around the bath, because trying to get behind here is just very difficult to silicone. And I do have some concerns that kids in future may splash water behind here and behind here, and then that get under the bath. So I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to deal with that yet. Potentially it's just shove a towel down there when there are kids in there. There are some kind of long reach silicone tools that you can use, but I'm just not sure that it's really going to get down in that gap, because it is really tight. Where I've just got this pushed up quite close against the wall. So I haven't got a solution for that. Some people do stick the feet of the bath down, but the problem I think with that is that if you ever want to get the bath back up to access the drain or anything like that, you can't, because you're just going to break the bath trying to get it up, where you've stuck the feet down. Whereas at least with the silicone around the edge, you can just take a knife to it, just cut it, and then you'll be able to get the bath up. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.